Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. Jacalyn. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome to each and every one of you to USA Global TV, and welcome to our new audiences on our new radio platforms. We are thrilled to have you here. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is the United Kitchens. And if you're thinking to yourself, ooh, this seems like deja vu. I thought I was just on this show 15 minutes ago. It was canceled. Chef Ricki is with us backstage, so this show must go on. So let's bring out our celebrity chef and certified nutritionist, Ricki McKenna. Hello, Ricki.
Good morning or afternoon or evening, everyone. Let me just get the camera a little more straightened out here. We've had a little bit of technical whatevers this morning, but we're here. And we're here with some wonderful lamb that we're going to stir fry today in kind of an Asian flavor. And just to give you a little background, I've been a certified nutritionist and a chef for over 20 years. And I love food, I love to cook, I love people, and I love to share. So here we go. Today is the stir-fried lamb with asparagus, red pepper, and onions. And it's going to have an Asian flavor. The first thing I'm going to do is cut up the marinade. And actually, you can marinate this for a few minutes, which is what we're going to do today. But ideally, you would do this the day before, or at least 30 minutes before, to have your meat marinating in this wonderful little marinade that we're creating. I'm chopping up the garlic, number one. Can't have lamb without garlic. Well, you can, but it tastes better with it. And actually, if you have any problems with garlic, if you have an allergy or sensitivity to garlic, there's an Ayurvedic spice called asafoetida, or hing, H-I-N-G, and it is a really good substitute for garlic if you're having problems with it. And unfortunately, I have a lot of clients who seem to have a sensitivity to garlic. So the asafoetida seems to be a good substitute for that particular spice or herb, however you want to call it. And cut my ginger down a little bit here and grate it into the bowl. And we need about a tablespoon of fresh ginger. And as far as I'm concerned, any amount of fresh ginger is wonderful. Even 2 tablespoons wouldn't be bad. And if you make this full recipe, which today I'm actually cutting in half, you can use 2 tablespoons of the ginger. And as I always say, if you love ginger, like I love garlic and ginger, add a little more. That's okay. So we've got our freshly grated ginger. You can use powdered ginger if you don't happen to have the fresh, but we're going to use the fresh today. And what I would say is use about half the amount of the ginger, according to the recipe, to do that. Now we're going to add some low sodium organic soy sauce, about a tablespoon of it. Here we go. And we're going to add some sesame oil. I've got toasted sesame oil. It's also organic, and I'm only going to add about a half a tablespoon of that. Anywhere from a teaspoon, a little bit over. It's about 3 teaspoons to a tablespoon. So we'll just add the sesame oil, because sesame oil tends to be very, very pungent. And I'm going to add a wee bit of, how about a half a cup of sherry? Or see what it calls for. Actually, 2 tablespoons. Okay, we won't add half a cup. We don't want to drown it, so I'll use 2 tablespoons. There. of dry sherry. I feel like the mad professor here, the chemist, making up the marinade. And now what we will put in our marinade is this beautiful lamb chop. These are lamb shoulders. And what I'm going to do, I want to show you, they come with bone in. So we're going to do a little quick boning of the lamb shoulders with a very sharp, thin knife. And remove the bones because we want to cut our lamb into bite-sized pieces or even smaller. So do not throw these away. These make wonderful stew. So we'll keep that along with a few other things that we're going to have a little bit of leftover because we're using asparagus, and as you probably realize, the bottom of the stem on the asparagus is usually pretty tough. So what we do with that is also keep it for soups or stews. And what you can do with those things is freeze them. Put them into an airtight container or a sealed baggie and put them in your freezer. And when you go to make soup or stew, that's when you get them out. And you can put them in the soup or the stew immediately because even frozen, they will defrost as they cook. And of course, you're going to cook a stew or soup fairly long, at least for 40 minutes to an hour or even more. And especially if you use a slow cooker, number 2 bone, you can put them in there and they will defrost automatically. Here we go. Now the lamb shoulder is a wonderful piece. It's very tasty. You can also use lamb steaks cut from a leg of lamb. And of course, I would definitely save the bone in that. And here we have, okay, we've got some beautiful pieces here. I'm going to cut them up into little bite-sized pieces using my big girl knife. Please make sure your knives are sharp when you have them because it's a lot easier to cut your food, for one thing, especially something like a meat or poultry. And it's also much safer if, God forbid, you happen to slip with a knife and cut yourself. At least it would be a clean cut. I'm going to take a little bit more of the fat out here and put that in with the frozen stuff, or you can toss it. We'll deal with that later. Okay. I think the rest of it will be fine. And I'm just going to cut things into smaller than bite-sized pieces so it cooks quickly, because this is a stir fry. You could call it sauteing, but I'm going to use a pan that's similar to a wok. If you have a wok, definitely use it. The wok has sides where you can, the reason that it has sides that go up is you can put your meat or whatever you're cooking or the vegetables. If you want something not to cook as much or as fast as some of the other things in it, then you put them up on the side of the wok. That's just another little tip you can use. Okay, we've got just about, I did measure this originally, and we should be using anywhere from 1 pound to 2 pounds. 1 pound of the lamb is perfect for this recipe. That would be what, a little less than half a kilo. And there we go. So we have this beautiful lamb that we're going to put in our marinade and stir it up. Let's get in there and give that a good stir. So it coats all the meat. You can see what I'm doing here. We're coating the meat with the marinade. And if we had time this morning, I would put it in the refrigerator for 30 minutes. But in the meantime, we are going to take our sesame oil, and it's got a little too much fat, and our asparagus first, and we're going to fix those. So we'll just let that sit and marinate beautifully. Excuse me while I wash my hand. Okay. Alrighty. And so here we go with the asparagus. They're just beautiful. I've got about half a pound of fresh asparagus, and I'm going to take about, since I've finished with my meat, I'm going to take that off, and I'm going to cut about an inch off the bottom of the asparagus. And as I said before, do not throw these away. Put them into a little baggie, which I happen to have waiting right here. And you can freeze them and reserve them for soups or stews or whatever for flavoring. There we go. We'll do that later. And so we have our fresh asparagus, and I'm going to cut them into bite-sized or about an inch pieces. That would be 2 centimeters on an angle, so they're pretty. And you can see we're going to have lots of pieces of asparagus, which is wonderful. Okay. And I'm going to take my sesame oil and put it in the pan. And we'll go over here in just a minute so you can see what I'm doing. We've got about a tablespoon in there. And I'm going to turn my range onto, I have an electric range, so I'm turning it on to just about high. It's a little bit lower than high. And once that oil starts to sizzle just a little bit, it gets bubbly. It reacts a little differently from olive oil. So you have to kind of keep an eye on it to watch it when it gets bubbly. Meantime, I'm going to cut up my red pepper. I have seeded it and cored it. And so I'm going to cut it into about 1/4 inch slices. And one of the things I found with this recipe and other recipes like this, if you're having company or you're planning for your meals for a couple of days ahead, what I suggest is do all this ahead of time, have it in your refrigerator so that it's ready when you come home, wrapped separately, and then just put everything together as you're going. Now I'm just going to give our marinade and our meat a little more stir here. Dr. Jacalyn, do we have any company yet?
No questions. People watching on YouTube, if you'd like to put some questions or comments in, that would be great. Or if you're over on LinkedIn or Twitter.
That would be great. All right. The reason I took the other board off is I have a wooden chopping block top. And when you use meats, I prefer to use the silicone, which is totally inert, to use my meats and like fish, any chickens and meats and any fowl. I don't want the wood to absorb the raw meats. So that's why I use the silicone, but we're back to chopping vegetables so we can use the board. And I'm going to chop up my onion, going to slice that up a little bit here and get that ready. Let's see. We'll go in half and peel that off. As I say, this recipe actually, once you get it, all the things done or ready for it, takes no longer than 30 minutes. And if you've marinated your meat, that's a great way to get everything ready. So I'm just going to slice it in half and then cut slices, thin slices. So now we've got the asparagus, the red pepper, and the onion. And let's check on our oil. Oh yeah. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean by bubbles. You can see it. I think you can see the bubbles in there.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah, okay. Now the only thing is be careful when you put the asparagus in. Actually, I'm going to bring the pan over and put the asparagus in from the chopping block. You'll hear them. And just be careful that it doesn't splatter. Here we go. As you can see, the oil is bubbling, which is very different from olive oil. So we have sesame, and it's up on just about high. It's just under, it's not medium high, it's a little more warm than that. And you can watch those beautiful asparagus turn a dark green. And we're going to let them cook for about 3 minutes. While I chop up a little bit more of the onion, I'll get back here. Hello again. Let's take this off. I promised Dr. Jacalyn this would be a very fast, efficient recipe, and we have it done in practically no time. So we're going to cut up a little more onion because I happen to like onion. Here we go. And these are all ready to go in next. Now, of course, I'm going to give this another little round. And this time I'm going to add a little bit of red pepper flakes. About a 1/4 teaspoon. No, maybe a little bit more. Because we like spicy. If you've ever had a spicy Chinese stir fry, this is what this is like. It's not really, really spicy. You can add more of the red pepper flakes if you like. But it's got some zing. So that's what we're looking for. All right, I'm going to take this over here because shortly we will be adding this to the pan. But in the meantime, we're going to add the onion first because we've got about 3 minutes worth of cooking here, and we don't want to overcook the asparagus. So what I'm going to do is put the onions in next. And if you're going to try something like this, make sure you do it fast so it gets in there in a hurry. And the red pepper. And you don't feed the floor, as I used to tell my kids. Okay, now we can see how pretty this is. Let's show you what we're doing over there. Here we go. Isn't that pretty? Looks like the Mexican flag.
Beautiful.
Or several other flags that use red, white, and green, or green, red, and white, or however you want to do it. Now you'll notice that the asparagus are getting a little bit more cooking time than the onion or the red pepper. And that's perfectly fine because we want them crispy but not soggy, as well as the other vegetables, the same thing. So I'm going to keep stirring. There we go. Now, if you want to, you can add a little more of the red pepper. I'm not adding salt because we have soy sauce in the marinade. And when I put the meat in, the marinade will go with it. And one other thing you can add to your marinade, we can thicken it a little bit with arrowroot or flour, whatever your choice is. So I've got my arrowroot, and the advantage to using arrowroot is that arrowroot is gluten-free. So if anybody has a sensitivity to gluten and they're wondering what to use for thickening, and I'll show you that in just a minute. There we go. And what I'm going to do is take my slotted spoon and take the vegetables out and put them on a platter. Half of them I'm going to take out. And now I'm going to add that wonderfully marinated meat into the wok. As soon as I add a wee bit more sesame oil, so that we can cook the meat beautifully. Okay. And if you don't particularly care to measure, you can just do it the way I did it. And of course, I still have my heat up to high. that's exactly what we want for the meat. So we'll let that sizzle. Now you can use a little beef broth or veggie broth. And here's the arrowroot, and it looks just like flour, just like finely ground flour. And as I said, arrowroot is for those who want to use something that's pure, that does not have gluten, because flour obviously does. And so I'm going to take my little measuring here. I'm going to add some water. Actually, I think I'm going to add some hot water. Excuse me, I'll be right back. Not a lot. I've got just under, maybe a quarter of a cup. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of the arrowroot and a little bit more to the warm water and thicken it. Now, if you want to, you can add some beef bouillon, just a little bit. And then I'm going to pour this in with the meat, just to thicken the sauce a wee bit. And of course, it wasn't quite as hot, but it was hot water, so we don't stop the cooking. And our lamb is just beautiful here. And I'll show you how wonderful that looks in just a second. Because it's kind of fun to watch the transition from the raw lamb into a finished product. And you can see that it has somewhat of a brown gravy. That's what we want. We want, that's actually better called a sauce, since we're going to put it over a really pretty plate of vegetables with some rice. Just going to let it cook a little bit more. And I got a question yesterday about, can you eat lamb rare? And the book is kind of still being written about that. I like my lamb medium rare, and some people like things very rare. But you can eat the lamb not well done. So just if anybody has a question about that, that might help. And we're only going to let that cook for another minute or so. And then we're going to add it to our wonderful vegetables. And then actually, we will be done. So if anybody has any more comments or questions, because I know we started a wee bit late this time, and I apologize for that. That was actually my technical stuff. So, which happens.
We don't have any questions so far.
Yep. So far, I got my fingers crossed. Richard, bless his little heart, does a lot of high usage work as a geophysicist. He uses a lot of bandwidth, shall we say. And so I don't know if that had anything to do with it, or if our supplier, the modem, whatever. I know every once in a while, you have to have, I think, a little bit of technical problems to really appreciate what we have. All right, I think we're done. We have this beautifully sizzling pan of lamb and gravy. And just to make sure, I'm going to give it a little bit of a taste, because I want it to have some piquancy. I want a little hot. In a Chinese restaurant or an Oriental, an Asian restaurant, they would probably add some of the hot peppers, those little skinny little red peppers that kind of make your ears smoke. But I'm not doing that. We're just going to use the red pepper flakes. Ooh, that's good. Actually, I'm going to add a few. Oh boy, wait a minute, it just hit. This is the kind of sauce that when you first taste it, it's not that spicy. And you notice I'm pouring it in gravy and all.
You're going to eat all that?
No, I am not going to eat all that, but I will have company shortly. But if you're welcome to come join me. And let me just turn the range off. Okay. And here you can see we've got the meat on top. And I think it's clearer on the other. Shall I put it on that one?
Sure.
Yeah, I think it's easier to see on that camera. And what I would suggest, everybody see it? There we go, is to bring those vegetables through. Just kind of pull them through so everything mixes beautifully. And if you like, you can add a little more red pepper. But I think for serving and for eating, this is absolutely beautiful. And if you want more rice, you can always add more rice to it. But there we have it. That's our quick and easy lamb stir fry.
It looks very healthy.
Not only that, it's very low glycemic. And if you're familiar with the glycemic index, that is an index of foods that raise your sugar, okay, your glucose. And the higher the glucose, the more insulin you need to help regulate it and bring it back down to normal. So everything in here, with the exception of the rice, is a low glycemic food, which means it won't, to give you an example, it won't raise your glucose high. So that if you're on a weight loss program or just a weight maintenance program, or just don't want to eat a lot of sugary things, this is a perfect meal. And in place of rice, you could use quinoa, or you could use some what are known as silver noodles, or the, what are they called? Glass noodles.
Mm-hmm.
Either Korea or China. And to give you an example of a high glycemic food, we have bananas and bread. A piece of bread and a banana will both raise your glycemic index to, let's see if I can just join you, will raise your glycemic index to 100. It goes from 0 to 100. So if the food says on a glycemic index, it's 100, that's very, very high in sugar. So as I say, if you're on a weight loss program or just a weight maintenance program, or you just want to eat really more healthfully, although bananas are good for most people, choose your foods from the glycemic index. You can get it on the internet. And so if you can't find it, you can reach me at rickiskitchen.net. That's RICKISKITCHEN, no apostrophes in there, .net. Or you can email me at Ricki@rickiskitchen.net. Or I do accept phone calls or texts at 970-618-7607. So here we have it, quick and easy.
Thank you so much, Chef. That was very quick.
Yeah.
Thanks for pulling it all together against the energy gods. We're glad that you were able to be with us today.
And just for fun, I know your new book is out, but here's what I did was, here's the copy that you can get on Amazon. It is Yes, You Can Eat Well and Eat Right. This is a perfect example of it. Although this recipe isn't in there, there are 30 other recipes for you to choose from. And I also have a spiral bound version that's a little bit easier to keep open when you're using a recipe. So we have both available. This one is from me. This one is on Amazon. It's both the same, but I found out that Amazon will do paperback and the ebook is on there as well. So please help yourself to the link on Amazon and look for the book. I would appreciate it. We also have some other goodies on the website, because my favorite tool in the kitchen is actually a whisk. And we have a cup that says take whisks.
All right. You have it all there. Get the book. You can get the spiral bound, and you can also get the cup. So
yes.
To go over to which website, Ricki? It's RickiMcKenna.com?
No, it's rickiskitchen.net.
.net. Okay, there it is. rickiskitchen.net. It's RICKISKITCHEN.net. Very nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. You have a beautiful weekend.
Absolutely. You do the same, and enjoy whatever you're doing. Stay healthy.
Thank you. You too. Bye, Chef. Thank you, everyone, for watching the show. I'm going to be posting this over on our other channels as well, since we started the broadcast late, so everybody has an opportunity to see it. Our next show coming up is Pet Psychic Amina, so I'm looking forward to hearing what she can tell us about coexisting with animals. I know today she's going to be talking about monarch butterflies. So do join us for that. And also, in case you missed it from one of our other shows, my new book launch is coming up. And this is not the final cover. We actually have not revealed the final cover. I've been working with my book coach, Red, twice a day, every day, it seems like, till 10 o'clock, 9:30 at night, getting the book in its final format so it's ready for the public. So we would love to have you join us for our first ever live book launch show, which is May the 4th. It's next week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. British Summer Time. We will have 10 of the authors who have furnished chapters in this book joining me. You'll be able to ask them questions. And in fact, for the first 20 questions that we have, I'll be giving away a free ebook. So stay tuned for that and mark your calendar. All right. Thank you so much for being here. I look forward to seeing you on our next show. Take care and have a beautiful rest of your day.